and Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Eastern, the constituency in which we're in this morning. Mr. Dunstan Bryan, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Principal, PVC, Professor Denzel Williams. Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Jacqueline Besacer McKenzie. Mr. Dunstan Bryan, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The Honorable Patrick Hilton, Chairman of the University Hospital of the West Indies. Mr. Fitzgerald Mitchell, Chief Executive Officer of the University Hospital of the West Indies. Members of the Board of Directors, and please forgive me, Prime Minister, if I ask Mr. Roger Anderson, acknowledge Mr. Roger Anderson, Professor Horace Fletcher, Dr. Merton Smith, and Dr. Ronald Robinson, who is also here, Ms. Andrea McNeish. They work tirelessly. And Roger, have I left out anyone? No? And Mr. Richard Chen, our project manager. Heads of department of the University Hospital and the University of the West Indies. Members of staff of the University Hospital of the West Indies. Our contractors who are with us this morning and other stakeholders. Members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. Having established the welcome, I don't expect to hear this again, except for, if the minister or the most honorable prime minister decide to acknowledge a few people. This is a short ceremony, and it's really an honor and a privilege to welcome everyone to the grounds of the University Hospital of the West Indies, sited on the historic Papine Estate. Prime Minister, I think when you were last here, you opened the most advanced imaging system, the nuclear SPECT-CT, the only one in the Caribbean region. And Minister Tufton is always saying that he hopes that these functions become commonplace and that we should always be leading from the front as a university that provides advanced and critical care for our patients. I think our chairman has charged as CEO with being patient-centric, and we want to ensure that all our stakeholders understand this. But in kicking off this project this morning, we want to remind everyone that there's nothing called third world medicine. Wherever in the world you are, if you, let's say, have an unfortunate heart attack, then the standard of care should remain the same. And so we as a university believe that not only should we be teaching the techniques to manage these patients, but that we should also lead and we should be on the forefront wherever the technology in the world is. Having said that, we were established way back in 1948 after the Irving Commission in 1945 principle said that public health in the region was at an all-time low and we needed to improve the system. At that time, the population was estimated to be about 1.5 million. And at 583 beds, we have not added a significant stock of beds since those early days when we were building out the university hospital. As a result, we have a challenge. And it's not only in Jamaica, it's international, where there are patients in the emergency room. They have been admitted, they have been treated, or treatment has been started, and they have gotten the most advanced investigations that can be offered with the technological revolution that Fitzmitchell has brought to the University Hospital. What we now need to do is ensure that we increase the number of beds and continue to increase and improve the technologies that we have available for these patients. And I will take one example before we start. Many of us, when you get to my age, you're told that, forgive me, that men shouldn't pass the closest bathroom. And it's symptomatic of a challenge we have in our society with prostate and the enlarged prostate and prostate cancer. However, that can't be the management of that problem. And so we feel that where the world is that they are at robotic technology. And our current projects are to bring in an advanced MRI to diagnose some of the more challenging problems with prostate, and we are actively doing that with the university and the Ministry of Health. But also we need to get robotics involved so that we can treat these men and they can go back into the society and contribute as they are doing. So we feel that there is so much that needs to be done in the area of technology, and we believe this project brings an opportunity for us to start solving some of these practical problems that you see on a daily basis. So with that said, I want to welcome everyone, and I'm going to ask that our chaplain, Mrs. Melrose Wigan, lead us off with a word of prayer. Reverend.
Good morning, everyone. Let us approach the throne of mercy. Heavenly Father, you who have brought us to the beginning of a new day, we thank you for the restoration to new life and power and thought. Your mercies hover around us each returning day, and your grace leads us into paths of righteousness. So, loving God, we are filled with gratitude and joy as we gather in your name to celebrate the unity of purpose by which we are enabled to achieve our goals of honoring you and caring for and supporting each other. So bless all those who are gathered here today to celebrate and give thanks for the significant contribution given by our staff and other well-wishers and partners to promote and provide quality health care. So thank you for the blessings of our individual and collective God-given gifts, and place in our hearts the desire to make a difference to everyone, to our families, to our community, to our country, and to the many cultures and peoples worldwide. Healing God, we ask for your blessing on those who will share their findings with us today and whom we honor for their achievements. Lord, we celebrate their capacity for creativity, for critical thinking, for focused effort, and who are grateful for their desire and their willingness to be engaged intellectually, morally, and spiritually. Thank you for their confidence as they seek to discover and explore new possibilities and knowledge to discern what is right, what is good, and what is just. Father, enable us to draw upon the wisdom and experience of yesterday as we respond to the questions and concerns of tomorrow, because indeed that is a need. So we pray that you will fill each employee with satisfaction at the excellent work they have done and are doing for the sake of enabling mankind to move closer to you. So may we continue to make a difference in the world and lead lives for the glory of God. Father, it is another beautiful day that you have enabled us to come to our place of work, those of us who work here. Oh Lord, we live in difficult times. And in a time of turmoil and confusion, you have raised up leaders and mentors and endowed them with wisdom, patience, and a strong sense of balance. So Lord, we pray that this institution will continue to be a wonderful place to work, to learn, and to grow. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Mrs. Melrose Wigan. Melrose. And while I take the opportunity to welcome the chairman, the Honorable Patrick Hilton, OJ, to bring opening remarks, I also, while chairman is coming up, want to acknowledge our visitors who are with us from overseas as we try to improve capacity in getting these projects started across the country, and also our architect for the project that you see here, Harold Morrison Woodstock. I think I previously acknowledged Mr. Richard Chen, our project manager. Chairman, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Patrick Hilton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Bruce, Most Honorable Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, the the Honorable Christopher Tufton, Minister of Health, and the Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think Dr. Bruce did an excellent job in acknowledging everyone. Let me say at the outset that I am exceedingly pleased to be here this morning at this event. When I was first appointed to the role of chairman, the Honorable Minister charged me with 5 priorities, Minister, as you will recall, and this was among them, right, to get the ring road shifted and get this project started. And we have been very focused as an institution with the help of the CEO and other members of the team in getting it done, because basically we come from a background where the focus, ladies and gentlemen, is really on execution, right? It's really on getting things done. It's really on impact. Is really on, Dr. Bruce made mention of the fact that, as a person, I'm very customer centric, and the customer, to my mind, is not just the patient. Perhaps the most important customer is the patient. But this university hospital serves a number of important and diverse stakeholders. And so we have to manage those relationships. And the true test of the success and the effectiveness of the university in executing on its mandate is when every stakeholder, whether it be the university itself, University of the West Indies, and the principal is here, whether it be the Ministry of Health, and the CMO is here, whether it be the Ministry of Education, the public whom we serve can say that they are happy and satisfied. And it may sound like a daunting task, and it is, because we have to be managing people with diverse expectations, diverse needs, across a multitude of different social experiences and so on. But at the end of the day, I think if we as an organization can meet with, can communicate with, can outline and can explain and can agree a set of priorities, right, which everybody believes is for the common good, and then start to execute effectively and relentlessly on those priorities, we will achieve massive success. And that's the focus. So, the minister, I said to him earlier, when we were at a conference last week, the Caribbean Neurological Association conference, made the point that technology is not transformation. And I said, Minister, you are so exceedingly right. It is not, and it is something that affects many institutions across all domains, whether it's public or private sector, where there's a belief that you put in place a new system or a new set of equipment or a new building, and you have transformed. Transformation doesn't happen, ladies and gentlemen, until the outcomes are different, right? The results are different, and we're meeting the expectations of all our stakeholders. And as I said, I'll repeat it because I think it bears repeating. There's a repetition never spoils a good prayer, right? As I said, true transformation begins with me. Each of us as individuals, right? So transformation happens when the persons who are leading the process, the persons who are engaged in the process, are transformed in terms of the way they think, in terms of the way they behave, in terms of the way they act, right? Outside of that, you are not authentic, and soon the people will see you for who you are. They will say, you know what, the emperor has no clothes, right? Because the truth is, what you do speaks far more loudly than what you say ultimately, right? So I think that is my big focus. As I said, today we are here to, acknowledge and to start to celebrate. I use the word celebrate because I mean, we can celebrate it, right? It is worthy of celebration given, how long it has taken and what has transpired. The start of the process of building a new infrastructure, physical infrastructure, which will create a more enabling physical environment to facilitate transformation. But it's not transformation itself. It is only a part of the process, right? Each of us has to start to rethink, to relook at things, right? There's a thing I used to say to my colleagues in another place, right? I used to say to them that, we operate on a simple philosophy. Success really requires no explanation. It speaks for itself. Use a Latin expression, it is res ipsa loquitur. Success, on the other hand, allows no alibis. It doesn't mean that, failure permits no alibis. It doesn't mean you can't fail, but you take responsibility for failure and you fix it. Because if you don't take responsibility, then you don't really own it. And there's always the risk in that, right? That you never really get things fixed. So ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We are happy to be here, as I've made the point before, right? We pledge to give this. I tell people all the while, people say to me, why do you take on this thing? And I said to them, boy, I don't know. Do you think you can fix it? I say, I don't know, but we're going to try. We're going to try, right? We're going to try. We're going to give it our best shot. And I will say this, right? The level of support and the level of responsiveness that I have experienced so far from this team is quite frankly amazing, right? I struggle at times to keep up with the pace. No, I'm being honest. I'm going to tell it like it is. I struggle at times to keep up with the pace of the communication and the phone calls and the WhatsApp messages and so on. But I'm happy for it, right? And I'm hoping that as chairman I can provide, some inspired leadership to the team as we engage in, our responsibility. The last point I'll make is that this university, and I made the point at the conference as well, is unique among institutions across the region, right? It is not only a teaching university, which makes it unique. In other words, its impact on our society is massive, right? And as I said, there's a term we use for massive financial institutions. We call them systemically important financial institutions, CFIs. And I would be bold enough to say this is a CHI, a systemically important health institution. So ladies and gentlemen, it's a huge mandate, it's a huge responsibility. We take it seriously and we promise you we're going to do our best. I give you that commitment. In closing, I just want to thank everyone who has participated in this process. I want to thank everyone who has made it possible. I want to thank you, Prime Minister and Minister for having taken the time to be here with us. We appreciate your support and we look forward to your continued support and blessings as we go forward in our journey of transformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Honorable Patrick Hilton. As we move the program along, we'd like to invite the Honorable Fable Williams, the Minister of Education and Youth, to the podium, but we have a very, very special relationship. We take her as our own Prime Minister, and literally any problems we have around this area, we can actually call her, and she answers. And we appreciate that, and we appreciate you. Welcome, Minister Williams, and I invite you to the podium to address us, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Bruce. Good morning, everyone. I have to tell you that I always follow the instructions of my doctor. And so when he says, do not repeat the protocols, I say, yes, doc. And so this morning, just allow me to acknowledge the Most Honorable Andrew Holness and to say again, good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here at this groundbreaking for this multi-story medical building. And I'm delighted on many fronts. First is the positive impact that it will have on healthcare delivery for all of us in this country. It is the modernization or the beginning of the modernization of our regional hospital or regional teaching hospital from where many of our nurses come. And I say that because in the education sector, we have over 200 nurses employed in our schools, and we wish we could have more, but that's where we are at the moment. And I'm delighted as well on the employment opportunities that will be generated for many in this constituency and even outside of it. And so this morning, I want to stand here and truly, truly acknowledge what is happening here this morning and to really thank God for the budget space that we have been able to have to allow this to happen. And I know that today, Jamaicans can stand a little bit taller for what is happening here at the University Hospital of the West Indies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's wake up. Let's give Minister a round, man. Thank you very much. Yes. And while I introduce the Honorable Dr. Christopher Tufton, the Minister of Health and Wellness, I think many of you know that wellness was added to the portfolio. I can't remember when he approved the Prime Minister some time ago. But I wish to say to the audience this morning, it must be a record, because this weekend there was a 5.5K run, and I will let you know that Minister Williams, Minister Tufton, and Prime Minister Holness were all involved in what I consider an important part of wellness, the Sigma 5K that raised over 109 million for Savlamar Hospital and National Chess. So if you need a signal about where your health should be or what you should be doing, or whether you should be moving, then I hope that you take from all the scenes that we saw on Sunday and the support the health services are getting in trying to move people from chronic diseases to wellness and to preventative medicine. Minister Tufton is going to address us this morning on the UHWI Modernization Project, a monumental leap in revolutionizing healthcare. Dr. the Honorable Christopher Tufton, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bruce, and you're being modest. He was also in the 5K, and he ran left all of us, all three of us, so he didn't do too badly. All right, so let me just recognize the Honorable Prime Minister. Prime Minister, good to see you again. Good things in public health, sir, with your support. My colleague, Minister Fable Williams, Member of Parliament, and members of the board headed by Patrick Hilton. I see my CMO there, Dr. Bisesa McKenzie, and members of the UHWI team. So today is really a good day for us because it is a continuation of a number of initiatives, tangible initiatives by this Holness-led administration, this government, for which I am very proud, which signals in a very tangible way the renewal of public health in Jamaica. Public health infrastructure in the first instance, but there are so many other things that are happening. In fact, over the last few months, just to demonstrate how tangible it is, we had the historic launch of electronic health records at Maypen Hospital. We turned it on, so not a contract now. If you go to Maypen Hospital, the entire system is electronic, from registration to inpatient care, to seeing the doctor, to operations, everything logged and not in a room in a tangible file. And that's historic. That's the start of a process. We followed shortly after with a multi-billion-dollar contract for a 6-story tower, 7-story actually, one below the surface, for the Spanish Town Hospital, which signals significant renewal. And that contract is in effect. They're about to start demolition to clear the grounds. And today, of course, we are doing this rerouting of this ring road at UHWI. Now we know that UWI has a ring road, the University Hospital. This is UHWI, the University of the West Indies and the University Hospital of the West Indies. So just to clarify, it is this ring road. So where we're standing here now will become a part of that process of the ring road renewal, plus demolition of all these buildings behind us to clear way for a greenfield site. The pictures are there on display. That procurement process is well advanced. The architect is here, and we're almost at the end of the final internal designs, at which point we will go to market for a contractor and begin the process of selecting and finalizing plans to break ground for that facility. That facility is going to signal another big effort at renewal of our infrastructure. It will involve all new equipment, so some of the things that Dr. Bruce speaks of, there will be others coming. And appropriately so, it will place the University Hospital of the West Indies in its rightful position to lead the charge, not just for healthcare and advancing healthcare leadership in Jamaica, but also in the Caribbean. And I tell you, it's a proud moment, and I want to say I really appreciate the support that the Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness and the executive has given to me as Minister of Health, but to healthcare and to the Jamaican people. And it is worth celebrating. So I say really a good thing in public health happening on a continuous basis. So this new 6-story, this rerouting will commence right away. We're going to sign a contract, and then within a week or two, you will see heavy equipment on this premises here, and you will see some of these older buildings being demolished. Maybe you should take some pictures of them, Dr. Bruce. I remember, you used to live in one of these flats, right? When we were on hall together. So they are old memories, but they are going to give way for new and renewal that is necessary to advance the process here. Now, I listened to Chairman speak to my presentation I gave to your conference in Montego Bay, and I want to reiterate it without taking too long. The Prime Minister is a guest speaker, of course, about renewal of infrastructure and technology and transformation. We're going to have to keep repeating that message and challenging leadership to recognize that with all this renewal, it must translate to improvements in throughput, a more satisfied client, a more satisfied and motivated staff, so that overall we feel the impact and the effects in a positive way as a society of what we're doing and the expenditure that is being extended to create this renewal. That's critical. And for UHWI and UWI, and the principal was here, Prime Minister, but he had to leave a little early, was hoping to see you. He's still here. So why are you sitting all the way at the back there? The principal of the University of the West Indies, Prime Minister Denzel Williams, Professor Denzel Williams. Welcome, sir. I thought you had left. The message is really for you as it is for the University Hospital of the West Indies, because you're inextricably linked. You are the premier teaching institution. Part of renewal is going to be HR issues, human resources issues. You would have seen where the government advertised for nearly 1,000 additional doctors. We're coming with an HR plan for nurses, and we're going to have to find a way to provide these doctors and nurses through training, through collaboration. That's a challenge that I'm putting out to you. In outreach with the technology, here will be a concentration of specialists. We expect that through telemedicine, given the technological platform that we're putting in place, a gentleman in Savlamar who has a problem doesn't have to travel to Kingston to get that problem solved, because we're going to use the technology. Indeed, experts outside of Jamaica should be able to to communicate with us and provide support. In the area of applied research, we spoke about prostate cancer, and there are many others. Non-communicable diseases claims 75, almost 80% of our population, nearly 17,000 deaths a year. We're going to have to invest more through research and applied research around prevention and helping to restore people in an economic space as they are afflicted or affected by ailments. And then the sustainability component. So all of these we expect should flow from what we're doing here. And, you know, as long as the Honorable Prime Minister extends the courtesy which he has authority to do, to keep me in this position, I am not, yes, of course, it is his authority and his power and position. I am not going to relent from saying, now that you have the new building, now that you have the new machine, how much more patients you're treating, how much more satisfied are these patients, and how better off are we? Because if we are not, we're wasting money. And that's my encouragement to us. So today is a happy occasion. It's a real good feeling to be here and to be identified with this. Thanks to the team, by the way, for the work that they have done. Fitz, Bruce, the board, the other administrators, the external partners. I think it has been important that we have collaborated to get to this point. And I want to thank you and say, let's continue the work for the people of Jamaica. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. the Honorable Christopher Tufton. And, you know, I know Minister acknowledged the work been done by the board and several different individuals, but it's not by chance. And I really would like to acknowledge Dr. Ronald Robinson, who, when he was in the principal's office, Principal Williams, helped us to author the paper to develop the redevelopment of the hospital, and put together a very nice package that we were able to submit to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And it's no surprise that in the technological revolution that we're undergoing here, Prime Minister, by digitizing, as Minister Williams always teases me every time she comes, like, Carl, you've been digitizing forever. It's Dr. Ronald Robinson again who is leading that charge from the board to ensure that the transformation continues. So please forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, but it's two significant projects, the HIMS project and the redevelopment. And so I want to just acknowledge Dr. Robinson, the work that you do behind the scenes to make things happen for us, along obviously with all the other board members. And I see Professor John Lindo has joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to invite Ms. Najee Stewart to bring an item to us. Mr. Najee Stewart to bring an item to us. So Najee, if you could set up and we'll continue rolling the program. Where you want it. express, Minister Tufton, that we're moving all the doctors who used to be in the doctors' quarters behind. But our chairman is always asking us to test our strategy, and in the mentoring, one of the things he has said, it's always day one. And I can assure you, we have already approached the NHT, sir, to ensure that the emergency staff who have to be on the compound to provide care, that they are that we've started discussion and engagement to ensure they have new accommodation. The hospital can't spread out anymore, so the plan is to go up with that. Prime Minister, we really want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be back in Kingston with us. And it's with great pleasure and a privilege that I welcome the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, ONPC MP, Prime Minister of Jamaica, to give us a keynote address. Prime Minister, welcome to the University Hospital of West Indies, sir.
Thank you very much, Carl, for your skillful mastery of the ceremony. I will follow the doctor's orders and just simply say, good morning, nice and decent people. Good to be in your company. You will forgive my raspy voice. I'm sure you understand why that is the case. Minister Tufton, from all I've seen, you deserve to continue to be the Minister of Health. This morning marks a pivotal moment as we gather to celebrate the contract signing and groundbreaking ceremony for the redevelopment of the University Hospital of the West Indies, and this is only phase one. This project stands as a testament to your government's commitment to advancing healthcare infrastructure and meeting the evolving needs of the Jamaican people. I had a little bit of history here on the hospital, but to save time, when we come to open this building, then I will preserve that part of the script. The hospital, which was opened in September 1952, I believe, received its first patient at that time, started with an initial capacity of 200 beds. And it consisted of medical, surgical, and pediatric wards, and a main operating theater, casualty and outpatient department. And it was officially opened in 1953. In 1967, the University College of the West Indies, UC as it was called then, obtained its charter and was granted full university status. The name of the hospital was changed to the University Hospital of the West Indies. From its inception, the UHWI has been recognized as a center of excellence, and its primary objective is to meet the needs of having a teaching facility for medical students, residents, and allied healthcare workers, whilst providing the highest level of medical care to the Jamaican people and persons who come for its services from other parts of the Caribbean. Since then, the hospital has played a pivotal role in medical education, research, and health delivery. Over the years, the UHWI stayed true to its commitment to excellence, despite facing challenges stemming from aging infrastructure. Today, we acknowledge the pressing need for modernization and expansion to align contemporary healthcare standards and to address the growing demands of our population. The current hospital infrastructure, with its aging buildings and inefficient layout, and I stress that, aging buildings and inefficient layout, I come back to that, poses numerous challenges. From maintenance issues to overcrowded departments, the need for comprehensive redevelopment is evident. The proposed redevelopment aims to address these challenges by modernizing facilities, enhancing departmental synergy, and expanding critical care services, the incorporation of modern technologies, and the provision of state-of-the-art facilities will further elevate the hospital status and capabilities, ensuring that the UHWI remains a center of excellence in the region. Today, this contract signing and groundbreaking ceremony marks the beginning of a transformative chapter in the history of the University Hospital of the West Indies. So as we gather here to celebrate this important moment, you will allow me to take this opportunity to just remind the audience, but of course when I speak, I always speak to a bigger audience. So I thank you for being the platform for which the message is delivered, right, Minister? It's necessary. So, in 2023, Minister, I'm just taking 2023, we improved the Moneeg Health Center. So we're doing this, but in case people believe that we are only focused here. So in the Moneeg, we did the Moneeg Health Center, $26 million. It will benefit 32,000 patients, improve that health center. Ground was broken for the construction of a new administrative building for the St. Anne's Health Department at a cost of 400 million Jamaican dollars. The Mandeville Comprehensive Health Center in Manchester was upgraded to offer improved services and retrofitted with additional safety features to be more resilient to natural disasters. The Cambridge Health Center was renovated by the NHF at a cost of more than 60 million Jamaican dollars. It will benefit some 4,000 residents of Cambridge and its environs. Yes. A new $29 million energy efficient broiler system was installed at the Savannah Mar Public Hospital in Westmoreland. A US $5 million contract was signed for the implementation of the electronic health record system in the public sector. Minister Tufton spoke about that. The St. Elizabeth-based Black River Hospital was equipped with a $37 million digital retrofit. That means they changed out all their computer systems there. A mammogram machine was installed at the University Hospital of the West Indies at a cost of 47 million Jamaican dollars. The renal unit of the Kingston Public Hospital got 10 new hemodialysis machines valued at over $30 million. The UHWI received 18 patient monitors valued at $25 million. The Bustamante Children's Hospital got a new C-arm. I don't know what that is, but I guess it's a kind of X-ray, C-arm. We'll look at it later. And a laparoscopy machine. Machines valued at $46 million. 2 ambulances and a panel van were acquired at a cost of over $33 million to serve the parishes of St. Anne and St. Mary and Portland. The Southern Regional Health Authority received 4 retrofitted ambulances, a passenger bus, and a van at a cost of $62 million. And the Linstead Public Hospital in St. Catherine and the Princess Margaret Hospital in St. Thomas got 2 new ambulances valued at $33 million. I went into this detail which I would normally go into because it is important that the public gets a sense of what the government is doing. You know, perspectives are important. The glass can be half empty or it can be half full. Now, if you were quarter of the glass and each year you continue to add to that amount in the glass, then your perspective has to be more that you're getting to the filling point rather than at the bottom. And every year, our government is adding to the capacity of the healthcare system. So I've given you the small things that we're doing. And we know that much more needs to be done. We still have this segment of the glass which is still empty. But we're getting there. We're doing it. It's not going to be filled all in one pour. And we recognize that. And we recognize as well that patients are suffering in our healthcare system. We are not oblivious to that. We know this. But it didn't start in 2016. And in fact, we have done more to alleviate and ameliorate the conditions of healthcare in Jamaica than any other administration before. And I can say that without fear of contradiction. We acknowledge, that for 3 decades before my time, and it's my time now, we haven't built a new hospital. We acknowledge that. But who is it building the hospitals now? We acknowledge 70% of our current hospital infrastructure and equipment are deemed to be end of life or nearing end of life. That didn't just happen since 2016. It happened because previous administrations did not invest in healthcare. And now they have the, I'm trying to find the right word, but audacity seems to come to mind to speak on healthcare. It galls me, the level of hypocrisy, but more or not. My administration is making sizable and tangible investments to reverse this long period of underinvestment and neglect. In fact, I can, without fear of contradiction, say that my administration has embarked on the most significant program of expansion and improvement in our national healthcare infrastructure since independence. Under the health system strengthening program, we are making a substantial investment of $148 million US. And this initiative will lead to the development of 3 hospitals, St. Anne's Bay, Maypen, and Spanish Town, where we broke ground a few weeks ago. And it will also include 10 health facilities, the Greater Portmore, Old Harbour, St. Jago, St. Anne's Bay, Brownstown, Ocho Rios, Maypen East, Maypen West, Moko, and Chapelton. And some of these will be type 5 health facilities, meaning that they are just one level below a full hospital capability. And the program goes beyond physical improvement to facilities. We're also moving to improve our information systems and technology that are critical elements of a modern healthcare system. We will introduce advanced information health systems, remote patient monitoring, e-prescription, and electronic health records. You know, a certain person who is now in the prominent medical person, who is also in the political field, a few years ago sent me some pictures of some hospitals, including the docket room, that's what it's called. And that was like 2015, thereabouts. And files were just thrown all over the place. If a patient were to come, it would be hell to find that record. But they had records there for, 20, 30 years of patients probably who have passed, which they still need to keep the record, but it is competing with the space for current patients. The investment in the electronic healthcare system is absolutely important in improving the quality and speed of healthcare delivery. Cannot be undervalued or underestimated. You won't see it like how you'll see this lovely building going up, but you will experience it in your waiting time, in the right diagnosis being made. So that should not be undervalued. So I want to put that up there as well with all these hospitals, which you will see the physical representation of. Now, you mentioned our problems in Jamaica, particularly for our males with prostate cancer. And under our National Health Fund, we have now, and Minister Tufton, I don't know if you have announced it yet, but the NHF instituted the prostate-specific antigen test benefit to encourage more men to get tested with a provision of a $1,600 subsidy for one PSA test per year. Now, this is big. I can't emphasize it more than I am doing now. It affects all men. King Charles was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, and we do send out our sympathies and hope for his recovery and treatment. But a lot of Jamaican men don't take their health care seriously in this regard. And the last statistics that I've seen continue to say that we have very high incidence in the region of men reporting either enlarged prostate or being diagnosed with prostate cancer. And that is why your caring government isn't just talking about health care, but we are providing you now with a subsidy. So if cost was the issue, I know there are other issues, but if cost was the issue, then we are providing you with a subsidy that will help to reduce the cost to you. So please go and get tested. There's that specific test, the PSA test. I'm encouraging all our men. As you say, after you pass 50, you don't pass certain things. You don't pass bathrooms and you don't pass the PSA test. You make sure you take your PSA test. We have put in place some new conditions which we have added to the NHF card, representing over $450 million in additional benefits, which will see some 47,000 Jamaicans benefiting. As Prime Minister, I instructed the Minister of Health to put on, remind me what it was, when we put on, it was lupus. You recall? Yes. I was out doing my routine campaigning. And a young lady came up to me and she really gave me her life story and her struggle with lupus. And I went back to office, consulted with Minister and his team to see what was the extent of this and whether or not we could accommodate it. And we expanded it. And since then, we have expanded significantly. Today, we can report an additional $450 million per year in new subsidies for new conditions and services. There are 61 contracts valued at $27 billion, which were signed recently for the procurement of essential drugs under the 2023 to 2026 Pharmaceutical Awards Program. I say all of this to say that if we're talking honestly about perspectives, yes, the glass is not filled, but it is not half empty. We're filling up that glass day by day, budget by budget. We are making real impacts on the healthcare system. And now today, we sign a contract for $278 million, phase one, which will be to realign the ring road, to demolish some old buildings here. I believe the doctors used to live in them for emergency specialists, to make way for a green field, meaning a clear area in which we can construct this wonderful 6-story building, which will have important services, operating and surgery and ward spaces and specialist services that will improve the health care that Jamaicans have access to. Now, when the colonial government in 1949 established the commission to determine how we can improve tertiary education, and particularly medical education, their concept, my view, did not foresee Jamaica today. They laid a good foundation. They laid a solid foundation of quality. Quality in training in particular. But in terms of the infrastructure, you can see that the mindset of the layout was you do this ring road and you expand in terms of space with small buildings all around. And it is the colonial style of tropical medicine in terms of how tropical hospitals were developed, certainly for ventilation and those kinds of things, and for expense as well. It was the most affordable way of building out the facilities. But with the population that we have in this growing urban area and the strong concentration of the population and the contest for space, the contest for land, there is no land in Kingston for us to do sprawling developments like this. Some of the land next door is contested, and we will have to look at that at another point. Whenever we go to treat with the contest of space and physical development, it is not just to take down the existing infrastructure. People have developed sentimental attachment. There are persons who like things the way they are. And if you go with a proposition, hey, will you give up what you have to get this? Some people are going to say, it might make everybody else better off, but it might make me worse off. Governments have to deal with this. We can't just go and knock down and don't take into consideration the valid sentiments and attachments and feelings and indeed prescriptive rights that people would have developed over time on the existing layout. So, as your Prime Minister, I'm very seized of these issues. And whenever we go to restructure, we have to have consultations. And the consultations are not just sitting down in a room, it's a dialogue that has to go on for a long period of time to get everyone on the same page about change. This one is relatively simple. I'm certain you're going to call in the doctors and explain to them and show them how they are going to be accommodated in alternatives. You've mentioned that you have approached the NHT. I'm sure the NHT will come back to me on this, about how we will find homes or build new homes and facilities for our medical emergency professionals to be housed, because they have to be close to site. So even here, you still have to do it, but it's a matter of showing what the alternative is. And for across the road and for other areas, it is going to be a longer process and a much bigger budget. But I want to use the opportunity to say to Jamaica, not just the audience here, to say to Jamaica, that the way in which our country has developed from a physical, built environmental point of view, it is not sustainable. As I travel the country on the campaign trail, you can see that we have chosen to live in areas that are going to be under threat from climate change. We have chosen to live in areas where you're going to have landslides. The soil, the nature of the soil is changing because we have cut down trees and we haven't taken all the environmental protection precautions. And so in the next 50 years of our development as a nation, we're going to have to be looking very carefully at our spatial development. In a microcosm of this, the University Hospital of the West Indies has now been forced into doing this. As they look to the next 50 years of their development and the land space that they have, they're going to have to figure out how all these dispersed buildings that they have all over the place connected by open corridors, that is not going to work. So you're going to have to go knock down some of those buildings and consolidate in more modern structures, which is what this is. But it is good that you're doing it because it becomes an example. In development parlance, it's called a demonstration effect. To get people to agree to change, sometimes you have to show them, physically show them what the change is going to be like. I'm saying this because I need this project to be done efficiently. It must be done on time, and it must satisfy all the stakeholders because we need to hold it up to say, see, here is what we have done. And if we did it here, we can take this model and carry it elsewhere to get people to buy into the change, to give up their sentiments or even their prescriptive rights and attachment to things as they are, to embrace what could be, which they will have their own benefits and welfare and well-being maintained in change. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have been such a good audience. I have 10 more pages to go. So I notice that, you know, those who used to claim that not now go on have changed their tune. Now they see enough things are going like never before. And they are now falling over themselves to say, but it was my idea. You know, my job as Prime Minister is to improve the lives of Jamaicans, and I will implement any good idea or good project that does that. I do not care whether it originated with the PNP, the JLP, or no P, or PIP. The fact is, Jamaica has never been short of great ideas. The projects that are being implemented now, many of them have been spoken of for decades. Decades. There are many plans that are in File 13 gathering dust. Many plans. Good plans. I have the opportunity to look at a few of them sometimes. I say, why didn't they do this? My administration, however, is doing it. We are getting the job done. We are taking the plans and implementing them. You know, there's a saying, the brain isn't all in one head. So if somebody has a good idea, if you keep it to yourself, it's not going to help. And if you have a good idea and you can't implement it, it's not going to help. So we welcome the contest of ideas. It is important. But governments cannot be only about ideas. That's universities. Government. Where's the principal? You should join us up here, principal. Right. No. Governments have to be about ideas and execution, which is why there has to be this symbiosis between institutions like universities, academic institutions that do the research, generate the ideas. And, you know, you have your School of Management, which helps us to convert ideas into projects. And then you have the political bureaucracy that gets the stakeholders behind the project And then you have the technocrats. I don't like to use that word, but the technocrats, they use technocrats sometimes almost as a pejorative. But yes, the technocrats who then take the plan and implement it. And the government oversees everything from the research and development through partnerships with our universities, through to the development of the plans, through to the development of the implementation phase. And that's what we have been doing. We do another important thing. We manage the economy so that plans can be funded. So if you ask, what is the difference between this government and other governments? The big difference is that we have been able to run the economy in such a way that we are not borrowing more to do this. We are not taxing you more to do this. But yet we can put over $200 billion more on the wage bill to pay everybody in the public sector a little bit more, and we're not collapsing the economy. That's the difference. So with the greatest of ideas and the greatest will, right, Patrick will tell you, if you don't have the budget, you cannot execute. As was said by our former Prime Minister, Edward Siaga, it does take cash to care. And you know, there are two ways of thinking in Jamaica. One is it takes cash to care, the other one is we put people first. I think both have value, but we must bring those two things together right now. We must have the economy that has the wherewithal to deliver, and we must make sure that the economy cares about the needs of the people. So that's what we're doing now with this caring economy in spending on healthcare. So as I'm at that point, I'm going to close with a challenge to the University of the West Indies. Once I was asked, what do I do as Prime Minister? What is the value of government? And I could have given all kinds of answers. But when I reflected on it, what politicians do, what you hire them to do, is to ensure that there is equity in the society. That is what it really comes down to. Every decision that we make to spend, I examine what is the equity. Meaning, how is it going to be fair to all stakeholders? Will this decision make everybody better off and not one person worse off? And if some people are going to be made worse off, how do we compensate them? That is what you hire your politicians to do, to maintain equity in the society. Sometimes politicians come out and they will say some things promising the moon and star. And it sounds good, particularly to a particular sector. And for that sector, yes, not recognizing how they destroy equity. I was in a rural area of Jamaica, of Penline Castle. And it's a coffee producing area, and and the question was asked about a factory. The factory was there and the factory was closed, and they wanted the factory to be reopened. And when I came down on the plains, the same thing, they were asking me in Duckensfield about their sugar factory and their banana factory. And the thinking is that the government should reopen the factories. And it sounds like a noble thing that, yes, maybe the government should open the factories. But if you step back a little bit and think, well, if the government opened the factories that the private sector found unprofitable and closed it, then what would the government be doing? The government would be taking public resources and subsidize factories that are not profitable. Who pays for that? Who pays for it? You. But the problem is who benefits from it. And what you would hear is that, well, it's the workers that benefit from it. No. Who benefits from it are the people who are going to sell the machines, the management that is going to operate. The workers get little bit. I'm saying to you that for too often we have been tricked. We can't continue this. We're a country that is growing. Our electorate, our population must look more deeply. So I make that bigger point to make the more pointed proposal now to the University Hospital of the West Indies. What is the equity of this expenditure? $278 million to build the facility here and billions to build this. And this is a paid institution. Why not spend it on KPH? You see that question? What's the equity of spending it here versus spending it on KPH? I'm saying this to you. You may not have considered it. On the surface of it, you won't think of that. But every public expenditure decision, I look at it. Every one of them. Because we have an unequal society, and that inequality, yes, it had its roots in slavery, and it had its roots in colonialism. It had its roots now in modern times in poor government. Government that made decisions about public expenditure that did not consider equity and fairness. And everybody's going to be asking for their equity and fairness. But as government, you have to look at the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture in healthcare? If we are going to expand the physical infrastructure of our hospitals, and I've shown you how we are doing that with 10 healthcare facilities and 3 hospitals and more to come. Where are the 1,000 new medical personnel going to come from? They come from right here. So the equity is balanced by the strategy. So the strategy is we need to increase the capabilities here to drive healthcare delivery right across the country in all the other facilities that we're developing. I just thought I would give you some insight into why it is that our government gets results and others didn't. I didn't come into politics for aggrandizement, or I just came into politics because I just saw people being misled. Even people who should know better. And I decided that when I'm there, I'm not going to mislead the people. I'm the only politician to have told you how it is. And I pay the price. I pay the price. And I haven't changed my ways. I'm going to tell you how it is. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, well, it's just a reality. So the reality is that we acknowledge that under normal circumstances, it would be better to have spent the resources on KPH. But because we have strategic reasons, we're spending here. I'm going to ask Minister Tufton at another time to outline the plans for KPH, which is also in dire need. We have made one massive public investment already, which is the Cornwall Regional, which is almost finished. As soon as Cornwall Regional is finished, then we will shift our focus to doing the same at KPH. But you hire government to think about these deeper things, things that you are not going to see, and to synchronize and curate our public expenditure to deliver the results that will yield equity and fairness in the society. And that is what we're doing. So ladies and gentlemen, you have been a wonderful audience and a great platform on which to explain to the people of Jamaica what their government is doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. And I'm going to take the opportunity to just invite Prime Minister, Minister Tufton, Mr. Mitchell, the CEO, and Mr. Woodbine to the table here for the signing of the contract. Prime Minister, we thought we were going to get you to drive the backhoe this morning, but it seems as if Minister is moving us along. Mr. Woodbine? Can I invite the audience to just to where the pictures are here, so that we can have the official groundbreaking ceremony. Thank you so very much for attending.
CEO. Can you come over here first, please? A little. All right, after 3, 4 together. 1, 2, 3. Not too much dust now, please. The hospital.
Very good. More redo, I know. Thank you, everyone.
Live by labor. Rashid. Yeah.